Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast. Joining me today on Calgary's podcast is Shawn Gibson, who is a partner at Incito Executive and Leadership Development. Thanks for joining us today, Shawn.
Yeah, thanks, Mario. Good to be here.
Okay, let's just start in general here and tell me a little bit about Incito, what it is and what it does.
Incito is a leadership development firm. We help leaders in medium to large size organizations build better teams, build better leaders, and ultimately have better business outcomes.
So tell me your history in this whole area of coaching, I guess. How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, I had a really great opportunities coming out of university. I'm an engineer. I've got an engineering background.
Oh, cool.
And and I had a great opportunity to build a startup. It was called Revolve Technologies. We built it with 18 people. It was almost a social experiment because we didn't have any structure. We were building really complicated technologies. And in doing that, what it made me realize is how important teams are in leadership. And we hired some coaches, and it made me just kind of think, this is really important. But at the time, I was interested in engineering and building stuff. And we ultimately sold this startup to a multinational called SKF, headquartered in Sweden. And I went from 40 people to 45,000 people overnight. And so it was very interesting to go from that startup mindset to a international corporate culture. And and in that, that brings other challenges with acquisitions and all kinds of other international business challenges. And it made me start to think about, here in Canada, we need better leaders. If we're going to lead the way internationally, even within an organization like that, we need stronger leadership. And the more I thought about that, the more I was interested in leadership. I eventually became the president for SKF in Canada and then left in pursuit of this idea of leadership. And that's how I ended up at Incito.
So what makes a strong leader then?
Well, you know, we are all leaders in some way, and it's part of our development. And part of it is we have these reactive tendencies. And part of it is in leadership is letting go of those reactive tendencies to become more strategic. And we know that there are traits of good leaders, that people that pay attention to relationships, people that have integrity and are real, authentic people that are interested in the systems and see the bigger picture, but also details,
Yeah.
and also then can create vision and get people to come along. But we are held back with the need to be liked. We're held back with the need to be right, the know-it-alls. We we get held back by winning, and I mean winning over others as opposed to winning collectively. Those things all hold us back in leadership, and we need to let go of those. And that's what we do with our clients, is help them see that and be able to move to this bigger thinking above the line.
So, I guess in a nutshell, like, just inherent in the word leadership and being a leader uh, means that you have to have followers, right? And are the people that you lead following you? And is that kind of like when you dig down right to the bone of this is what it's all about?
Yeah, following you and accomplishing things that you want to go out and create. And whether it's building a better business or a better community or a better organization and a better world, this is the idea of leadership. And
What would you say, from a personality wise, what are some of the common traits of good leaders?
I love that question because there's lots and lots of studies that have been done that there are no personality traits. And sometimes we think of like, oh, you need to be this big, bold, uh, outgoing, outspoken person. There's lots of quiet leaders. There are all kinds of personality traits. There's no correlation to personality traits. What we know is that there's a very high correlation to self-awareness. How
Mhm.
clearly do you understand uh, your values and the things that have made you who you are, that these life moments, and we all have them from growing up to, first career moments, influential people in our lives, all these um, moments really influence who we are. And the clearer we are and more self-aware we are of those, the better the leader.
Yeah. Now, you get, especially in sports, right? You you
Hmm.
get the images of the coach in the locker room giving the big speech, halftime when you're down by 15 points and that type of thing. Does a good leader have to be like that dynamic to reach people?
Well, there's different ways to be dynamic. Um, there are quiet coaches and there can be more boisterous coaches. What we need is authenticity,
Mhm.
sticking to what's really important, our core values, having a meaningful goal and vision and articulating that in a way over and over again to get people to come along.
Yeah. Now, I think having worked for a couple the different companies and stuff over the years of my career, I often think that a good leader. I guess the number one thing is you got to be competent in what you're doing, right? Because if you're not good at what you do, you don't have the respect of the people who's you're supposed to be following you, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we are, earlier in our careers, we become really good at things and and become experts at different skills and we need that as a foundation for growing into more complex roles. But we also, as leaders, need courage to step out of that.
Yeah,
There's a certain point when our own knowledge isn't enough. The world is too complex for us to be the expert in everything, that we need collaboration skills. We need to bring people together. We need people focusing on what's most important and why it's important. And so sometimes the more of an expert we are, the more we also have to let go of that to be a really great leader.
yeah.
Because we can't do it on our own. We need a team around us.
So, when when you look at the whole concept of coaching and in the business realm. Um, When did this start becoming popular? I imagine like 20 plus years ago or whatever, you wouldn't have, business coaches would have been rare. Right now, there's so many out there. As a journalist, I get a lot of emails from business coaches on things. When did that trend start happening? And more importantly, why?
Well, my first experience was, 25 years ago, and I think you're right. It was rare. It wasn't standardized. There wasn't the ICF, that's the International Coaching Federation. So, the more standards that have been put in place over the last 10, 15 years, the more it's become understood what it is and the value of coaching. Um, I think what's driving the the rate of change of coaching is that our world is becoming more and more complex. That we it's very difficult to do things on our own. And as we understand the process around coaching, the more people see the impact and the immediate impact. It's no longer a theoretical thing or just around chasing feelings and things like that, but actual real business results and accelerating business. That's what we're here to do.
All right. So, being an entrepreneur myself, I have my own business, and I have a friend who has been encouraging me uh,
Mhm.
to get a business coach, right? And I've been reluctant and hesitant to do that. So, give me your your quick pitch and to convince me that why is it important for me to seek the help of a business coach.
Well, a coach, and when I say coach, I really mean by the definition of the International Coaching Federation, somebody who's not giving advice, but really as a partner, a thought partner to you, thinking through your problems in your context, things that matter to you. They will be looking out for you in the things that you're not thinking of and opening possibilities, not to give you advice, but to help you think through the most challenging issues and things that are holding you back from what you really want to create. And that will happen faster by having somebody along your side than on your own.
Now, I imagine, sometimes to be effective, a coach has to be brutally honest with their clients, right?
Yes.
How do you stick handle through that?
Yeah, like sometimes that takes some courage, because coaches all have their own personality traits and fears of being liked and worried about, that they're not going to say the right things. And we have to put that aside, and that can be hard. And, in the interest of serving you, I really need to tell you this. And, it's from my heart and and it's important that you hear this. It might be hard to hear, and you may not like me right now when I tell you this, but it's important. And we have conversations like that, and sometimes it's like, huh, I appreciate that. That was critical for me to hear. I didn't like it, but I needed to hear it, and I'm better for it, and I will be more successful now that I have that information.
Hmm. Now, you did just touch on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted you to elaborate more, Shawn. How do leaders move from reactionary to strategic thinking?
Mm.
How difficult is that?
Uh, we can do it in small ways and big ways. There's fundamentally what it takes is some courage because we're stepping into the unknown. The place that we are, that the environment that we create around us is very known, and we create safety in that. To be really authentic and effective leaders, we need to step into where it's unknown. It means about doing something that we've never done before. Um, but setting some goals and targets, a vision, creating new relationships, might be through partnerships or acquisitions, all kinds of different ways we have relationships. All of those things take courage, and we need to leave safety and pursue that, knowing that it might not always work out. It's not always perfectly clear that these things will work out, but that we'll do it anyways in service of getting to somewhere better.
Hmm.
That's it's fundamentally, and we all know this in sports, when you're trying to achieve something that have never been done before, you might fall, and but you'll do it anyways. You have the courage to try anyways, and there's a decision moment that we have a choice. When we make those choices, that's when we're stepping into creative leadership.
Okay, this I don't know if this be kind of a strange question or not, but when you look at leaders by demographics, what you do, is it first of all, is it easier to reach females or male leaders?
I think for me personally, I've got a lot of female clients. I don't know why that happens to be, but I think that just happens to be, what's coming into our business at the moment. And um,
Hmm.
yeah, but I think there's something very important about a match. It's really critical that a who's looking for a coach has a good match. We spend a lot of time on making a good match that people feel comfortable with the right level of challenge, like we talked about before, that are willing to be direct and give you the honest truth versus more nurturing and having a asking questions and kind of thought partner. And there's a balance between those. And so we find there's a fit for everybody. And that's why we have such a big roster on our team of different styles of coaches to fit lots of different styles of leaders.
What about age of people that you're dealing with? Again, is it easier to get people when they're younger as opposed to, when they've had a 20, 30-year career and they're set in their ways?
Mm. Well, everybody's doing something that they haven't done before. Even people that are retiring in the last couple of years before retirement, they think, oh, I don't really need coaching or leadership development because I've been a leader. But they
Hmm.
haven't been a leader in the context of exiting an organization and doing it with legacy. And those can be hard transitions. So anybody that's going through a transition, whether it's an organizational transformation, career uh, career moves to new roles, all of these transitions are a really great opportunity for coaching to help accelerate the transition. We also say that the best investment is in the high performers before there are things happening that you don't want in behaviors and things that can develop over time if we leave it too long. But the best investment is upfront with the high performers. Keep accelerating them, keeping them on the track of high performance.
Hmm. What about yourself? Do coaches need coaches?
Yeah, absolutely. We're constantly learning. We spend a lot of time. In fact, we take every Friday afternoon off for our own development. We're whiteboarding. We're creating new ideas. We're examining, what we're good at and what we need to get better at. And that's actually part of the fun. It's I love the learning and the introspection and getting better and better and better over time is really what it's all about.
Hmm. Now, one of the issues, obviously, with people in leadership positions is their time, right? And what do you talk to them about when it comes to time management in terms of having a quote unquote, the old cliche about work-life balance,
Mhm.
and how important is that to be a good leader, to have that work-life balance?
It it's critical. And almost everybody says they don't have enough time.
Yeah.
None of us have enough time. Where everybody is maxed out and busy. So rather than talking about time management, we talk about priority management and what is the most important priorities for you to do well in your and to do well in your career, your personal life, your whole life. We're really interested in the whole person, not just the leader at work, because you bring your whole self to work. And so balance is one of the key dimensions of effective leadership. If we don't have some balance,
Yeah.
and it's different, that balance is different for everybody, but being intentional about that and getting what you want is really important.
Okay. So I'm curious, Shawn, when you look out there at leadership and leaders out there, whether it be in business or sports or politics or whatever, who are some leaders out there that shine for you, that show that indicate that this guy or this woman is a good leader?
Oh man.
People that we'd know.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think of people like Bill Gates are they have leadership qualities that I think are really important. Like he'll talk about setting a vision for the future. Um, he thinks about uh, he has an integrity to his values, whether you agree with his values and what he's doing or not. He sticks to it and he's pursuing something. He's not reacting to the world around him. He's paving the way towards something that he wants. Um, yeah, I think people like that are great leaders because they they create a vision and they rally people around towards that. And we need more of that. You see it all the time in our political
Mm.
uh, world where we're reacting to things rather than setting a vision for what we want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Last question I had for you, Shawn, was when uh, when you look at bad leadership out there and for companies, tell me, what are the consequences for a company if it has bad leadership?
I think when there's bad leaders, one thing that starts to happen is they start to not know what's actually happening in their organizations. People are afraid to tell them. And so then they start operating on invalid information. Um, or people start to leave, and you lose good talent.
Yeah.
Or even worse, you just disengage. And people are there, but not really putting their full effort in. And this is probably the area where we have the most impact is figuring out how to build that engagement. That there's so much untapped potential in
Oh,
organizations of just getting a little bit more. And I don't mean people just working harder or more hours, but just thinking more creatively and solving problems together. There is a huge untapped potential that people miss out on when they're not good leaders. And
yeah. Oh, okay. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Shawn, for joining us today.
yeah, this has been great, Mario. Thanks for having me.
All right, super. And who knows, maybe one day I'll get a coach.
Give
You
it a
never.
try.
All right, that was Shawn Gibson, who is partner with Incito Executive and Leadership Development. I'm Mario Tonaguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast. Thanks for joining us today.